Well, let's go to our voice from America, as we always do, the very popular Peggy Grande. There has been an interesting development in American politics where the top Democrat and Republican in the US Senate joined forces in a rare moment on unity last Thursday in an attempt to pass $40 billion in aid for Ukraine. But the move was stymied by the Kentucky Republican Libertarian Rand Paul. But he wasn't the only one. In the House of Representatives, Republican Thomas Massie tweeted, and I quote, "Counting last night's rushed vote, Congress has now spent more money on Ukraine in 6 months than we spend on all US roads and bridges in a year," unquote. Let's bring in Peggy here on what is a very, very controversial issue. Peggy, thank you for your time again. 57 Republicans voted against the $40 billion aid package in the House of Representatives. Massie said Biden is more concerned with spending millions of dollars in Ukraine than he is about baby formula shortages here in the United States. How do the American people react to those comments?
Well, thank you, Alan, as always, for having me on. And the American people have an expectation that our government can both support our allies and feed our own children. And so while Americans are struggling to put food on their table and gas in their tanks, there's a great sense of disappointment and concern coming from the American people that our leadership and our government doesn't seem to be able to get this right. We can't be spending money that we don't have. And there's a great concern as well. Why are we spending all this money to protect the sovereignty and the borders of Ukraine? And there's no sense of wanting to protect the sovereignty and the borders here at home. And so there's an expectation that we can do both. And Biden and his administration are failing at both.
The Republican Paul Gosar said this regime prioritizes every other country before it thinks about our own. This is the definition of America last. I vote no. Is there widespread support for those views? That's an interesting point that you make. We should be able to look after our friends overseas and look after our own people at home. Biden administration seems unable to do either or both of those.
Right. And this was the president. Remember, when he ran for office, he said he was going to defeat COVID and defeat Putin. And neither has he been successful at. The American people are very disappointed and worried about what is happening. And Senator Paul is right to put up the stop sign and say, we can do this quickly and smartly, not just quickly. We don't need to make this a rush decision. And the American people need a little more say in the priorities of this government and how they spend it. It's our money, not government's
your money.
money.
57 Republicans who voted against the aid package agree with people like Jim Jordan. So it then went to the Senate, where the Kentucky Republican Rand Paul, who's no dope, is demanding the legislation be altered to require an inspector general to oversee the spending on Ukraine. Rand Paul said, quote, "This is the second spending bill for Ukraine in 2 months, and this bill is 3 times larger than the first. Congress just wants to keep on spending and spending." So where does this $40 billion aid package for Ukraine, where does the bill stand now?
Well, it's already passed the House. It's off to the Senate. And thankfully, Rand Paul has just said what the American people feel as well. Is this money needed? Where is it going to be spent? Do we have any transparency over tracking where it's going? Is it really going to frontline munitions in Ukraine, or is it actually going to backfill munitions that have already been spent? So where is this money going? Is it really needed? Can it be traced? And if not, we shouldn't be spending it. We have enough problems here at home that need to be addressed. That's what the American people are primarily focused on. And we would hope that we can also help our allies, but not to the exclusion of helping the American people who are really suffering right now.
Absolutely.